For centuries, the Roman Empire was synonymous with absolute power. Its legions crossed continents, its laws shaped the world, and its architecture defied time. But beyond its victories, emperors, and conquests, Rome hid something even more fascinating: its treasures. We are not just talking about gold or jewels, but objects that represented faith, knowledge, military glory, and even the very soul of an empire that seemed invincible. Over the centuries, many of these treasures disappeared without a trace. Some were lost amid devastating wars, others were looted, hidden, or deliberately buried to prevent them from falling into enemy hands. And although archaeologists have managed to recover part of Rome's past, some mysteries remain unsolved, treasures of incalculable value that could change what we know about history, yet remain beyond our reach. In this video, we will not only explore 9 of the most enigmatic lost treasures of ancient Rome. We will go beyond legend and delve into what they represented for the culture, politics, and soul of the empire. Because in the end, understanding what Rome lost is also understanding what the entire world left behind. History tells us that in 107 BC, the Roman proconsul Quintus Servilius Scipio captured the city of Tolosa, what we now know as Toulouse, in France, and discovered a colossal treasure there. According to ancient chroniclers like Cassius Dio and Strabo, the loot included around 100,000 pounds of gold and more than 110,000 pounds of silver. A find that, if confirmed, would have been one of the greatest treasures ever acquired by Rome. The gold was supposed to be sent to the capital, guarded by a select group of soldiers. But it never arrived. Along the way, the caravan was ambushed and all the guards killed. No one ever saw the treasure again. Some suspected that Scipio himself orchestrated the assault to keep the fortune, but it was never proven. What is known is that after this campaign, his political career collapsed. He was accused of corruption, lost his status in the Senate, and died in exile. What adds even more mystery is that some sources, including Strabo himself, claim that this gold did not come from local tribes, but from the looting of a sacred place, the Oracle of Delphi in Greece. If true, we are not just talking about a monetary fortune, but a sacred, stolen, and cursed treasure. To this day, no one has been able to find the gold of Tolosa. Only rumors remain of servants who mysteriously became wealthy after their master's fall. Were they the ones who hid the gold? Or is it buried beneath some forgotten field in southern France? No one knows. In 70 AD, Roman troops commanded by Titus razed Jerusalem. The Second Temple, a sacred symbol for the Jewish people, was looted to its foundations. The soldiers did not just destroy a building, they took with them centuries of history, spirituality, and treasures that never resurfaced. Among the stolen objects were treasures restored from the First Temple, which had been destroyed centuries earlier by the Babylonians. King Cyrus of Persia had returned them long before, allowing reconstruction. But this time, there was no return. Rome celebrated them as war trophies, parading them through the streets in a triumph immortalized in stone, the Arch of Titus. There, one can clearly see soldiers carrying menorahs, gold tablets, and other temple relics. Some historians believe there were hundreds of thousands of talents in jewelry, pearls, and sacred utensils, including items forged by King David himself. But after that parade, all traces were lost. Where are they? Were they melted down, sold, or secretly buried before the ultimate fall? Some sources suggest that part of the treasure was hidden in different areas of Jerusalem to protect it from Roman looting. However, no archaeologist has confirmed this version. Others believe that Rome kept it for centuries and that it may even have reached the Vatican. To this day, every lead turns into a dead end. Thus, what began as an imperial theft became one of the greatest mysteries of the ancient world. The treasures of the temple have yet to resurface, but their symbolic and spiritual weight remains intact. Among all the sacred objects looted from the Jerusalem temple, one stands out above the rest: the menorah. This 7-branched candelabrum, an eternal symbol of Judaism, represents divine light and connection to the sacred. Its disappearance has been a source of debate, theories, and relentless searching for centuries. It is believed that after being taken to Rome, the menorah was kept in imperial stores, possibly even in the Temple of Peace. Its image was carved into the Arch of Titus, where Roman soldiers can be seen displaying it in the triumphal parade. But what happened afterward remains shrouded in darkness. Some claim that the Vatican still preserves it, carefully guarded in its most secret chambers. In 2023, an Israeli rabbi claimed that an Italian parliamentarian offered to arrange its return. However, the individual's identity was never revealed, and no evidence was found. In 2002, an agreement between the Vatican and Israeli scholars allowed for an investigation of its archives. But after months of review, no trace of the menorah was found. All that remained was the image carved in stone, and the suspicions fueled by centuries of silence. Other theories suggest that the menorah traveled through various regions. It may have passed through Carthage, Constantinople, southern France, Jerusalem again, and even Cyprus. Even Saladin, the 12th century Arab leader, is mentioned in some legends as a possible custodian of the temple treasures. But no evidence has confirmed these claims. Some historians have proposed an even more unsettling theory, that the original menorah never actually left the temple, and that what is depicted on the Arch of Titus was a ceremonial replica. If that were true, its fate might have been the same as hundreds of other sacred objects, hidden in caves, lost in tunnels, or destroyed without a trace. The truth is that, beyond its material value, the menorah represents the constant search for light in the midst of darkness. Its physical absence has not diminished its symbolic power. And perhaps that is why, even today, so many continue to search for it. At the beginning of the 5th century, the ancient world trembled. Rome, the invincible, was being pushed toward the abyss. And that was when he appeared, Alaric, the Visigothic leader who, in 410 AD, achieved the unthinkable, sacking the Eternal City. But his story did not end there. What followed fueled one of the most fascinating legends of the ancient world, the disappearance of his tomb, and his treasure. After the sack, Alaric suddenly died in the city of Cosenza, in southern Italy. His men, wishing to honor him as a mythical king, diverted the course of the Busento River, dug a tomb in its bed, buried his body along with a monumental treasure, gold, silver, sacred objects, relics looted from Rome, and then let the river flow over it again. As a final touch, they killed all the slaves who had participated in the work, so that the secret would never be revealed. Since then, hundreds have tried to find Alaric's tomb. Even the Nazis, obsessed with legendary relics, searched for the treasure during World War II. No one succeeded. And the truth is that, over the centuries, the riverbed changed, currents eroded the soil, and any landmarks were lost. In recent times, modern archaeologists have used underground scanning technologies, ground-penetrating radar, and satellite imagery. They have found hints, strange formations underground, but no conclusive evidence. The river protects its secret with the same force that the Visigoths covered it with over 1,600 years ago. Perhaps Alaric's treasure is not just a chest of precious metals. Perhaps it is a reminder that even the greatest empires can fall, and that sometimes, what is buried with a king is far more than gold. At the heart of every Roman legion flew a symbol that was much more than a military insignia, the eagle. It was not just a standard, it was the very soul of the legion, the emblem of its strength, unity, and honor. Losing it in battle was not merely a defeat, it was an unforgivable humiliation for Rome. These eagles, forged in bronze or gilded silver, were carried with reverence. Each one was cared for by the aquilifer, an elite officer who dedicated his life to protecting it. When a legion marched, the eagle went at the front. When a battle began, all eyes were on it. If it fell into enemy hands, the trauma was so deep that it sometimes caused the disbanding of the entire legion. One of the most infamous stories occurred in 53 BC, when Marcus Licinius Crassus was defeated at the Battle of Carrhae by the Parthians. 3 Roman eagles were captured. The loss caused such a scandal that decades later, Emperor Augustus negotiated their recovery as if they were sacred trophies. And they were. For Rome, the eagle represented invincibility, glory, and Rome itself. But today, None of those military eagles have been found. There are funerary representations, imperial sculptures, but not the authentic ones that marched with the legions to the edges of the empire. Some may have been melted down after battles, others hidden by soldiers trying to preserve honor. Perhaps they lie beneath ruins yet to be excavated, or perhaps they disappeared forever, as an ideal vanishes after the fall of a civilization. In their time, whenever a legion was defeated, the first question asked in Rome was, "What happened to the eagle?" Because losing it was losing the soul. And perhaps that is why finding one today would be more valuable than finding gold. It would be discovering the very spirit of the Roman Empire. Titus Livius was one of the most ambitious chroniclers in all of ancient history. In his monumental work, Urbe Condita, he set out to narrate the complete history of Rome, from its mythical founding to his own time, under the rule of Augustus. He wrote 142 books. Today, only 35 have survived. What was lost was not just paper and ink. It was centuries of battles, speeches, political intrigues, heroic legends, and imperial tragedies. In those missing pages were accounts of the First and Third Punic Wars, the destruction of Carthage, the internal conflicts that tore apart the Republic, and undoubtedly secrets and reflections that could today change our understanding of Roman history. During the Middle Ages, there were rumors. Some claimed to have seen complete copies hidden in monasteries in Denmark or Germany. There was talk of a version written in Lombard characters, carefully preserved by scholarly monks. But no real proof ever emerged. And like many medieval legends, the desire to find it surpassed the evidence. Titus Livius' books were not just narratives, they were structured memory, living history. Their loss is an echo of what happens when a civilization falls and knowledge is left to the mercy of oblivion, war, and fire. Today, historians try to reconstruct what is missing through indirect quotes, cross-references in other sources, and deductions. But it will never be the same. The original voice, the style, the nuances, all of that is lost. Perhaps one day, in some dark corner of a forgotten archive, a fragment, a copy, or a translation will appear. Until then, all we have is the emptiness between the volumes, and the desire to hear, once again, the story of Rome told by one of its brightest witnesses. Cleopatra was not just the last queen of ancient Egypt. She was a strategist, an intellectual, a magnetic figure who seduced not only the most powerful men of Rome, but history itself. And alongside her legend, a collection of jewels became entwined, which, to this day, remains missing. It is said that her treasure was astonishing. Pearls the size of grapes, rubies brought from India, emeralds carved with her own portraits. For Cleopatra, the jewels were not merely adornments, they were tools of power, living symbols of her royalty, her dominion over Egypt, and her place in Mediterranean politics. One of the most famous anecdotes recounts how, to impress Mark Antony, she took a pearl, dissolved it in vinegar, and drank it. Not out of whim, but as a silent declaration, "My wealth knows no bounds. I am the treasure." But when her end came, and Rome absorbed Egypt, her material legacy scattered. Some pieces were looted. Others sold. Many were lost to time. Only a few survived, like the Peregrine Pearl, which centuries later would end up in the hands of actress Elizabeth Taylor. The rest vanished. Perhaps buried, perhaps hidden, perhaps melted down and transformed into objects without history. And that is the saddest part, that jewels which once shone around the neck of a queen capable of challenging Julius Caesar may now lie forgotten in a nameless chest. Cleopatra's jewels were more than precious stones. They were a tangible manifestation of her ambition, intelligence, sensuality, and power. To find them today would not just be an archaeological discovery, it would be reclaiming a lost part of one of the most fascinating figures of the ancient world. Imagine a place where all the knowledge of the ancient world was concentrated. Philosophy, astronomy, medicine, mathematics, history, poetry, all gathered in one site. That place existed. And it was called the Library of Alexandria. Founded in Egypt during the Ptolemaic rule, its ambition was as enormous as its legacy. Its goal was not only to preserve knowledge but to capture it all. Every ship arriving at the port was recorded, and its manuscripts copied or confiscated for the library. Texts were translated from Hebrew to Greek, and Eastern doctrines were compared with the ideas of Plato and Aristotle. It was humanity's intellectual heart. But that heart was wounded, again and again. During Julius Caesar's civil war in 48 BCE, part of the city burned. Some claim the fire reached the library's warehouses and reduced thousands of documents to ashes. Then came Christian uprisings, Arab attacks, looting. Each of these events destroyed not just a building but centuries of thought, voices we can no longer hear. It is estimated that over 400,000 scrolls were lost. Medical treatises from ancient civilizations. Religious codices. Astronomical observations. Histories of peoples whose names we no longer remember. All gone. The Library of Alexandria did not fall at once. It fell slowly, in fragments, like a memory fading over centuries. And each fire was an amputation of the soul of knowledge. Today, its loss is irreparable. There is no hope of recovering those manuscripts. We can only imagine what secrets they held, what advances were centuries ahead of their time and lost, what questions remain unanswered, because the answers burned among flames and dust. And so, sometimes, oblivion does not come with silence, but with fire. In the heart of Rome, where the majestic Colosseum now stands, there once existed something very different, a lake. An artificial lake, built as the centerpiece of the most excessive work ever undertaken by an emperor, the Domus Aurea, Nero's Golden House. After the Great Fire of Rome in 64 CE, Nero did not rebuild for the people, he rebuilt for himself. He raised a palace so immense and luxurious that it seemed to challenge the gods. White marble, impossibly colored frescoes, ceilings inlaid with precious stones, and a private lake reflecting light as if the emperor himself were Apollo. That lake was not mere decoration. It symbolized the divine power Nero wished to project. Calm water, gardens surrounding it, monumental statues, everything seemed designed to embody imperial perfection. At the center, a colossal statue of Nero himself guarded the entrance. The message was clear: this place does not belong to Rome, it belongs to me. But his glory was as fleeting as his reign. After his death, the Senate condemned his memory. The emperors who followed sought to erase all traces of his madness and megalomania. Vespasian acted first. He ordered the lake drained and, on that very site, built the symbol of the new Roman order, the Colosseum. The lake disappeared forever. It was not filled in with earth. It was emptied, erased. Beneath the amphitheater stand still lie traces of that lost body of water, a vestige of ambition that no longer had a place in the new empire. Today, millions of tourists visit the Colosseum without imagining that they walk over the forgotten reflection of an era Rome chose to bury. A lake that left no remains, only a story hidden beneath the sand of the gladiators. Because in Rome, what cannot be destroyed, is covered. Buried. Replaced. For centuries, the Roman Empire was synonymous with power, wealth, and expansion. Its armies marched invincible, its cities overflowed with gold, and its temples safeguarded the most sacred secrets of the ancient world. But just as they built eternal monuments, they also lost treasures that never reappeared. Jewels that disappeared without a trace, manuscripts containing the knowledge of entire civilizations, relics stolen and hidden by rival empires. In the darkest corners of Rome's history, mysteries remain unsolved, legends that continue to stir the imagination of archaeologists, adventurers, and believers alike. In this journey, we will explore the 9 most enigmatic treasures of ancient Rome. Real objects, documented, looted, or lost beneath earth or fire, but never recovered. Are you ready to explore what Rome lost forever? In the annals of history, few empires have left marks as deep as Rome. But neither its legions, nor its emperors, nor its masterpieces could resist the passage of time. What was once a symbol of power now lies hidden, forgotten, or transformed into legend. These 9 lost treasures are not mere objects. They are doors to the past. Echoes of battles, ambitions, tragedies, and dreams. And even though they have yet to be found, they remind us of something essential, that even the greatest empires are made of secrets. Secrets that sometimes wait centuries to be discovered. Perhaps one of these treasures is closer than we imagine. Perhaps it lies beneath your feet. Or waiting in a forgotten cave. Or perhaps, lost forever. But as long as there are those who look to the past with questions, the mystery will live on.